Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. How do we? Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are.
Yo. What's up? Chef, what's good, bro, if you still listening? What's up? I just wanted to come on real quick. Those in the replay gang, please like it. Give me a like. That's all I ask. Just give me a like. That's all I need. And like Black Mind says, share the message because the message is more important than the messenger. It always is. Highly elevated. I got to get like you, big dog. I'm trying to get like you, man, as we speak. But yeah. Theatricality and deception are powerful agents to the uninitiated, as Bane said. That was my favorite quote from that movie. It was a beautiful It was a beautiful piece of writing and shit talking, and I like shit talking, and I like good writing in movies. But theatricality and deception. Theatricality, I hadn't heard that word used that way. I think I've read it before, but I hadn't ever heard it used in that way, and that was the coolest way I ever heard. That was the dopest way. Theatricality and deception are powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are the initiated, aren't we? And this, welcome to the broadcast, welcome to the show. Today's show, and before I get into it, I'm gonna go over a couple of things, but I just want to reiterate, maybe get my giant banner or giant avatar out the way so you can kind of see the art. I'm sure you can see the cover, but decentering women and children. Oh, shout out to Mr. Cash Out for the early Cash App donation. And we get to talk like this over here, man. Appreciate you, bro. I wish I gotta come up with something better for celebrating Cash Apps. But man, shout out to you for the 5. All ducats matter, as Ed Anderson says. All dollars matter because they contribute to us essentially keeping our program going and speaking freely, not having to worry about demonetization, because we ain't worried about monetization over here. I'm one of probably a few content creators that you would hear say that or advocate for that. I don't care about YouTube's monetization program. I think I actually am eligible. I just haven't signed up for it. I got 10,000 subscribers somehow. But I think I haven't signed up for it. One, because I didn't feel like it. And again, I don't do this for money. But appreciate the donation, bro. Because what I do appreciate saying is to YouTube is,
don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f yourself.
But
go f yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
you hope.
and Mr. Cash Out, I think it was, Mr. Cash Out, he actually facilitated that this evening, facilitated that energy that I can have towards YouTube. Don't advertise. Fuck you. And I'll play whatever I want on my channel until you delete it. But you ain't gonna blackmail me with money. But again, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. And that clip will be played for every donation if y'all like that. Fuck Elon, but I like the sentiment. Shout out to the 7 people in the stream. Let me get some shout outs to the ones in the chat. KP from KC5. That's me, bro. KP, bro. Standing on business, bro. Appreciate you, bro. I'm glad you told me that so I can shout you out. But decentering women and children. That's what this stream tonight is going to be about. And I'm going to use some of the illustrious, I might say, in my opinion, rhetorical geniuses in this space that we have. This beautiful God's gift of a space that we call the black, shout out to Roger Report, the black manosphere, tip of the spear, tip of the cultural, intellectual, social spear. It don't get no realer than over here. Michael, what's good, bro? Salute. But what was I saying? Yeah, decentering women and children. That's what this show is going to be about tonight. Again, that's what I was saying. I'm going to, with the help, because I'm nowhere near. I mean, I bask in the ambiance of these creators that I'm sure a lot of you guys share the same sentiment for throughout this space. And I've dedicated my page in essentially compiling for posterity's sake, and honestly to share with the uninitiated of us black men out there that might be able to benefit from some of the genius that comes out of this space. So today I'll be using several shorts that I've produced and grabbed from, again, some of Just to name a few of the creators. BGS. I think I got a Grinch. I think I got Mr. Z in there somewhere. I think I got a Pimp Guy. Pimp Guy channel was recently struck and taken down, so I'm glad that I was snatching stuff off of his channel because we can still refer to it. So I'll be using some clips to help illustrate my ideas. This was just on my mind earlier today. It's been on my mind since the last broadcast we had, which was about how black men, specifically the younger black men, or the guys, middle-aged guys, millennials specifically, but not exclusively, should navigate going forward into the future. How we navigate court systems, specifically marital and family courts. That was with my last one. Careful, compassionate. JD Vance giving you a stern and just there right now for this stream. Hey, JD Vance. If I know JD Vance, JD, he can read he can read the writing on the wall. This is just inevitable. Decentering of women and children is what they fear, and this is just inevitable at this rate. Shout out to the 8 people watching. Shout out to the replay gang. But JD, I think JD understands. He would understand this sentiment that I think we're gonna have tonight. So, without further ado, I want to play my first clip, and it should help us get the conversation started. And I think I want to start off with this energy because Ed Anderson always has the energy that I can relate to. So let me pull it up, and the link is pinned at the top. So you guys can come up, help me flush this idea out if you want, if you like. If you just want to observe, that's perfectly fine. Because I can handle it. The show will go on. So again, this is Edward Anderson. If you're not subscribed to his channel, you're absolutely tweaking, as they say in Chicago. I'm sure they say other places, but they say in Chicago, you're tweaking, bro. You're missing some of the most informative, well thought out, entertaining content on social media. If I must say so myself. So let me make this bigger so you guys can actually see what our boy Ed Anderson had to say. And this is the title of this piece is "I'm a Black Man and I Say So." So this is the energy we starting off tonight with.
Challenge shit is over with. I'm the king now.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if the black community is matriarchy, it don't need to exist. That's the red line. So any conversation that, and it is my opinion, that any black man should not give any resources, provision, protection, nothing. In fact, matriarchy should be sacrificed. Meaning, if you're a kid and you come from matriarchy, you seem like you adhere to that shit, like 56, son. You need to be like that. Needs to be sacrificed for the greater good. Like straight up. Like, you need to understand when you over there, that is it. There is no conversation yet. The only thing that in the job is people is to identify who is on that side. Is either who's on that side or another thing, you cannot let go of people on that side. Because if you can't let go of people on that side, then you're on that side. That is the job. And when you understand that and you make it crystal clear, notice how all that bullshit dissipates. Talk about what black men ain't doing, what this is. All that dissipates because it's clear.
All that challenge shit is over.
All that challenge shit is over with. Shout out Michael B. Jordan. Shout out Ed Anderson, because that's exactly the sentiment that I carry before that piece, and since, with even better way to articulate it. Chef Butter Biss, is my fault. I ain't shout you out. What's good, bro? That's a hilarious screen name too, by the way. But Ed's sentiment in that. If the black community to survive must remain a matriarchy, or what we like to call over in these parts of gynocracy, then it should be sacrificed without any remorse. Absolutely. I'm a member of that community. Unfortunately, a lot of you are. But I still stand by that. It should be sacrificed, and it doesn't need to continue to go on, period. If it must remain a matriarchy. And in that same spirit, those who are not willing to let go of that gynocracy or matriarchy for some sentimental reasons. I understand it, but it will be checked, and we will remember, and we will take exception to that position. Gabe A, what's up, big dog? With the black ones, that's hilarious. Yes, but matter of fact, let's play that again just so we can reiterate the position.
That needs to be.
All that challenge shit is over with. I'm the king now.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if the black community is a matriarchy, it don't need to exist. That's the red line. So any conversation that, and it is my opinion, that any black man should not give any resources, provision, protection, nothing. In fact, matriarchy should be sacrificed. Meaning, if you're a kid and you come from matriarchy, you seem like you adhere to that shit, like 56, son. You need to be like that. Needs to be sacrificed for the greater good. Like
no resources, no energy should be committed to what we refer to as the gynocracy. That's where we're at now. Those are the measures we're taking. And Snowman, what's good, Snowman? What's good, big bro? Hey, I don't think you just think this is the first broadcast I think you catching, big dog. Appreciate you pulling up, man. Appreciate you pulling up. But yeah, to reiterate Ed's point, that no resources should be given. And if you're to that matriarchy, wives, ex-wives, aunties, sisters, mothers, mothers that adhere to the matriarchal gynocratic culture should not receive your resources. Additionally, to the point of the show, or to the title of the show, Decentering Women and Children. Shout out to Gabe A, because I know you just smacked your lips just now. I know, I just heard it. And children, your children. Decentering women and children. And these are some ideas I think black men gonna have to become acquainted with, some concepts that I think black men gonna have to get comfortable with, learn to get comfortable with. Because, like Ed said, children, minors that do not support your rule and authority, if you're a father, or even if you're not a father, your brothers, nephews, cousins, little cousins will not be an exception in that resource deprivation or that energy deprivation that I think should be stripped from the matriarchy or the black gynocracy, aka the black gynocracy, immediately. Absolutely immediately. BGS, what's good? What's good, big dog? Big dog pulled up on me. I wish I had I gotta figure out something to play when you pull up. Put the mask on your face first. Period. Thank you. Sentiment. I share the same sentiments. But let me finish Ed's piece, and then we'll move on to the next one.
straight up, like you need to understand when you over there, that is it. There is no conversation yet. The only thing that the job is to do is to identify who is on that side.
Identify who is on that side. So in your personal life, people listen to this later on in the replay game. In your personal life, at this phase, I think black men especially initiated black men who call themselves initiated, the initiated, have to take stock. If you probably already have a little bit unofficially if you're in this space, but you should take stock of the people who are committed to supporting the gynocracy or so-called black matriarchy. Take stock. As painful as it may be, the first person you need to take stock with is yourself, though. I heard some niggas' eyebrows go up. The first person you need to take stock with to define whether or not they're committed and loyal and under the high table of the gynocracy, if they severed that pinky off as John Wick did, You need to determine that within yourself. And it probably will be a painful process to understand that within yourself. Are you willing to deprive the matriarchy or the gynocracy, i.e. women and, as Ed said, children, like 50 Cent's son, out of pocket, rebellious spirited, mama centered, matrifocal children that aren't and do not have your best interest or your mission in mind or in concern. They on the same, they should be stripped of those same resources as the women. And of course, I know that sounds extreme. It is extreme. It is extreme. But again, that first person you need to have that conversation with or do that, take stock with, is yourself. To Ed's point, would you prefer the gynocracy to maintain or limp along for another few generations onto your own sons or to your own friends' sons and to your own family members and to the boys, black boys and men of the black community yet to be born? Is the umbilical cord that ties you to your mama and your sister and your cousin and your niece and their little badass sons and maybe even your own hard-headed, incorrigible son? And again, that's a tough conversation to have, but let's move on. I'm dragging ass.
It's either you on that side, or another thing, you cannot let go of people on that side. Because if you can't let go of people on that side, then you're on that side. That is the job. And when you understand that, and you make it crystal clear, notice how all that bullshit dissipates. Talk about what black men ain't doing, what this is. All that dissipates because it's clear.
All that challenge shit is over with. I'm the king now.
Cool. So that was Ed. That was Ed Anderson. Again, go give him a like, subscribe to his channel. If you aren't already, you're missing out. Let me see. What am I showing now? Not what I want to show. So my next clip is going to help illustrate my point, as I'm sure you guys are starting to catch on to, is the illustrious pimp guy, which again, B-Rain, Roger Report, what's good, big dog? Man, everybody pulling up, man. I appreciate y'all. Roger, what's good, bro? B-Rain, what's the point of having a gynocratic pinky? Exactly, that's my point exactly. What's the point of having a gynocratic pinky? It isn't a point. That's the point. Leadership. B-Rain Wash, what's good, bro? Yep. CC, what's good? St. Cyr, what's up, bro? You pulled up. Shout out to the 18 in the crowd. So, continuing so you lose my frame of thought, because you know I'm not as good at this shit. It's some of y'all that's even in the crowd. Y'all just make this shit look easy, and it's not. Keeping the train of thought and not rambling and shit. But continuing, again, shout out to Pimp Guy. They struck his channel. So I'm so thankful that I actually was able to clip this before they took it, because y'all don't understand how many gems Pimp Guy was dropping on a daily basis in dozens and dozens and damn near hundreds of videos that are completely just gone now, at least not for our consumption. So I got a couple of some of his, what I thought was some of his classic lines saved for posterity. So just go through my shorts, type in Pimp God or something, and it'll all come up. But check out what he says in this clip, because I agree with it. And I think it speaks to the sentiment that I'm trying to offer y'all tonight.
A lot of black men are so confused when they do
Spain, man,
all of the sacrificial things that they do for family, friends, what have you, and then they're abandoned as if none of that stuff happened. And it's because she deserves freedom, and she doesn't see that as something that she wants to share with you. What is this saying? And this is going to be a point we're going to keep coming back to.
We're going to keep coming back.
It's time for you to go for self. It's time for you to save yourself, black man. That's a point we're gonna keep coming back to.
Keep coming back to it. Shout out Pimp God. Couldn't have said it more clearer myself. It is time for you, black man. For you, black man. Unabashedly. No need for guilt. To save yourself. To pedestalize and center. What did I say? Decenter the women and children. Center yourself. It's going to be crucially important. And get acquainted with being okay with that. Because I know second nature for a man trained and raised in a gynocracy is never to do that. You fear being a narcissist. You fear being selfish. But that's exactly what I'm telling. I'm not telling you to be a narcissist, but I'm telling you to be self-centered. You first. You first. The mission second. Your purpose. The way you decide to serve humanity and your fellow man. Then your children, if they're in line with your mission and your purpose in serving humanity and preserving life and living and thriving as a descendant of American slaves, if you are a descendant of American. Shout out to the brothers in the diaspora that aren't necessarily from the lineage, the African American or ADOS or FBA lineage, but you too deserve to center yourself for once. Fuck what everybody else would do. And double fuck them if they have anything against you doing that. Like Pimp God said, it's time for you to save yourself, black man. Decenter the rest of the world, decenter the gynocracy, decenter mama for a second, decenter your girlfriend for a second, decenter your fiance for a second, decenter the chick you vetting on the side that you talking and texting and shit all day, decenter her. Decenter, even, especially if you're not in the same household, or you estranged from your children, or again, they're not in your household. If they're grown, I mean, obviously they don't need to be decentered. But I'm sure a lot of black men with grown ass kids, you probably can afford decentering your kids a little bit too, because that's a discussion for another time. But it's okay. Decenter the everyone else and center yourself. That's what I'm saying tonight. That's all I'm saying tonight. And I want to share, matter of fact, this would be perfect time to share my boy. And this is a great African-American poet, 21st century poet from Louisiana, I believe, by way of Louisiana. Boosie Badass. And here, Gabe, hey, I don't know, man. You don't know about centering yourself? Okay, I'm going to convince you. Don't trip. Just keep listening fast so you can keep up. I talk a little fast, so just keep listening fast. In the event of a cabin loses pressure and the oxygen mask, in the event this cabin loses pressure and the oxygen mask will drop down in front of you, secure your mask first, black man. Period. Thank you, Chef. That was well put. Period. That's exactly what I'm telling you, especially considering the environment that we're in. But I'm speaking more just in terms of internally, your internal monologue, your internal compass. Because we haven't been socialized, or we haven't been taught to do this, I don't think. Some of us are lucky enough to learn it ourselves and figure it out, or just oriented that way naturally. Some of us, but all of us aren't. And that's just reality is. So if you haven't ever heard it, it's okay, bro. Put yourself first. Take care of yourself. I'm going to praise that in you. I'm not holding that against you at all. Nobody here in this space should hold that against another black man for putting himself first. Yes, even over your own children. Yes. Because what good are you? Even if you're thinking, well, what happens to the babies if I don't put them first? Even if you one of them type niggas. What good are you? To Chef Mike's point, why do you think the plane etiquette, or in the case of emergency on an airplane, etiquette is exactly what he wrote there, which is to secure your oxygen mask first and initially, prior to worrying about anybody else or anything else. Because what good would you be in assisting other people if you're fucking suffocating? If that's what you're worried about. If you want to serve your children, you want to make sure they're good, what good are you if you operating at 50%, or you slowly dying, or stressed, or overstressed rather, and not really putting yourself first, not getting enough rest, not prioritizing your purpose and mission, and how you gonna serve humanity and serve your fellow black man and men in general, I guess. What good, how good are you if you're so worried about other people you can't actually optimize and make sure you at the tippy top? But let me let Boosie speak on it, because I think he speaks to this rather eloquently.
It says no is no, and a mama's supposed to agree. We're parenting. But he's a child. Regardless, he don't make man decisions. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna be a parent. I'm not gonna be a child friend. I'm not gonna be none of that.
Right.
You're not gonna be able to overthrow a parent just because you whine. It's not going. It's me standing up. If I break now, what I'm gonna break to later for him? When he won't do something, ain't no breaking. But I say go. A damn.
Period. I mean, I couldn't say it no better than that. In terms of, as a father, I'm a father, a new father. And yes, what I say goes. And even more so, if you'll break and not show resolve, for, I guess, in terms of disciplining your children, or even standing on principles about things that don't even involve the children, maybe involve the relationship. The last episode we spoke about extreme measures a man will have to take. I suggest a man take in case of courts involved in any intimate relationships or familial relationships. I say men should, disowning children should be on the table in terms of part of the recourse to being having the courts thrust on you. And I'm sorry, a lot of guys find that ruthless and irresponsible, apparently. Chef Mike says, I've got grown sons and they know that we are not friends. Never have been and never will be. We have a great relationship because of those boundaries are respected. And let Denzel tell you.
But why do you think that is?
Why do you think that is, Chef Mike? Why do you think that relationship has boundaries and are respected and it's great? It's because you didn't fold. You didn't befriend your sons, your offspring, like a lot of the lovely ladies do, or black women do inside the community, and a lot of times their mothers try to do. You got an outcome that you can accept and you can be proud of, based on you standing on principle, because your sons respect that. I have a father. We all have fathers, obviously, but I respect my father for not being my friend. I really do. So, but in terms of the way Boosie spoke there as a father, he centered himself. Fuck all of that. Fuck what the kid whining about. Fuck what the mama whining about. What I say goes. And like he said in the beginning, you a bitch, you're supposed to back me up. And if you don't, we're going to have a problem. Period, point blank. Well, you got to consider other people and consider other people. No, the fuck I don't have to do that goddamn thing. No, the fuck I don't. I'm the sun and y'all revolve around me. The moon reflects the sun's light. Pimp God said that one time. Shout out Pimp God. It was a beautiful statement. The moon doesn't have its own light. It reflects the sun's light. And that's what you are as a black man. Like BGS, if he's still in the crowd. As BGS said a million times before, you are red pill sleeper cell. What's good, bro? What's good? Appreciate you pulling up. But as BGS said a million times, men, especially black men, because I think we are the best men on the planet, second to none. I really do. I really do believe that. Our light is the brightest. And it's a pleasure for you to be around it or absorb it. And that's how we need to think about it ourselves. We need to think about manhood, even boyhood. It is a pleasure for people to benefit from your light. But you have to believe that before you sell it to anybody else or you demonstrate it to anybody else. So remember that. What was the next clip I wanted to play? Shout out BGS. Matter of fact, since he's in the crowd, I had a clip already queued up that I think speaks to this point also, that I clipped from him, I think a few weeks ago. So check it out.
All black men and the whole black manosphere need to do. We need to sit down, quiet place, and start learning how to love ourselves and respect ourselves and putting ourselves first.
Yep.
The hell with all that. The hell with the black community. The hell with black women. The hell with whatever else woman is on the outside. It's inside job. Got to start with yourself first. Love yourself first. 2025, I think that's what all black men and the whole black manosphere need to do. We need to sit down, quiet place, and start learning how to love ourselves and respect ourselves and putting ourselves first. Yep. The hell with all that. The hell with the black community. The hell with black women. The hell with whatever else woman is on the outside. It's inside job. Got to start with yourself first. Love yourself first. 2025, I think that's what all black men and the whole black man.
Yeah. Period. Shout out to BGS. Facts. And I think we need to be reminded of that as much as possible for the rest of this year and everybody in the space. And that's what I'm speaking to today. That's what I think I'm trying to speak to today, at least. As black men need to get comfortable with the notion, acquainted with the notion. We need to love ourselves. We need to respect ourselves. We need to learn how to respect ourselves, affirm ourselves. Because a lot of times we hadn't had affirmation. We've grown used to not receiving affirmation and not even affirming ourselves. I had that problem. You know, when good things happen, when I do things that I should be proud of, it's just on to the next thing. You know, I'm constantly trying to prove myself to myself, which is fine, I'm sure. But at the same time, we do need to, and I think that's before you can even really do that type of work, you have to center yourself. And a lot of black men, I think, are spending a lot of time putting other things in the center of their life. You're trying to acquire things. You may be working to acquire things, but not really for you. You know, you're trying to acquire accoutrement for maybe your girl, maybe your wife, maybe your kids. And sure, I do accept the reality that once you have children, the children become priority. That's a colloquialism, you know. It's said rather flippantly. And I do believe that I think you do have a responsibility to the children to a certain extent, but not at the expense of yourself. I don't think that's written anywhere necessarily, especially black men, not at the expense of yourself. You understand? And I think Demonstrating this centering of yourself. For those with children that worry that you don't want to impress upon your children that you don't give a fuck about them, and you so on and so forth. What's BGSA? You prove yourself to yourself in the gym. You prove yourself to the others on the court. I like that. I like that. That sounds like some Michael Jordan shit or some Kobe shit. You prove yourself to yourself in the gym. You prove yourself to others in the court. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, centering yourself requires, I mean, to the point what I was speaking to I don't think it's a good thing that black men, what I've watched in my life, what I'm sure a lot of the same movie you guys have watched in wherever you are might happen to be, is black men sacrificing for people and children, even stepchildren and shit in certain ways, compromising themselves and compromising their own health, compromising their sanity, compromising their finances, and they think that it's a virtue that's being observed. My point is, I don't think children, if you're worried about the children, thinking of you as selfish, you don't love them. What does a child think of a man who doesn't love himself? Is the question. What does that look like? What does that teach? If you have sons, what does that teach your sons? What does that demonstrate to your sons? A man that puts himself completely on the back burner for no real, not as a form of, a righteous sacrifice in terms of that is for something and he's getting something, so he's paying something back, a debt owed or something. No, just because he was trained to serve, trained to constantly try to prove his worth through acts of service and finance into perpetuity, to, like BGS, I've heard him say, he dies and then his family picture gets put in the attic somewhere and everybody forgets his name. And his granny house now. We going to granny house for Sunday. We going to granny house for this. We going to granny house for that. I know several grandmothers or grandmother age women living in homes left to them by tradesmen that nobody remembers their name. There's not a picture, as there literally isn't a picture of them up in the house. So I know that to be true. I know that to be a reality. So I won't advise black men to blindly sacrifice themselves for some misplaced sense of self-righteousness that was programmed into you by the very women that are going to utilize that resource that you try to overcompensate with. So yeah, but that's what I believe, that I think you have to, and I'll play this clip next because I think it speaks to what I think black men, not only decentering women and children and centering themselves, but along with, not just because you're going to be compelled not to just, life isn't about just pouring into yourself. It's about relationships, right? We spoke about that last episode. Self-determination is actually begotten through relationships, forthright, good faith, self-asserted dedication and responsibility to others, which is i.e. a good relationship. It's actually the road to self-determination is through your relationships, the quality of your relationships, and vice versa, how those relationships pour back into you and what it teaches you about yourself. So life isn't just about pouring into yourself and being a self-centered narcissist like black women are a lot of times. We see where that ends them up. It's not an enviable existence. So black men, I'm not saying become a narcissistic, self-absorbed, egotistic maniac. I'm saying center yourself. And I think attorney Dennis Sperling can speak to what we can do after we learn to love ourselves and respect ourselves. What could be a righteous aim?
Unfortunately, our own lovely ladies, like the dominant society, and unfortunately our own lovely ladies, they want to keep us in a subservient position and under their thumb. And that's why it's important for us to unite. They don't want to see us win. In fact, Black culture, the way it is right now, is designed to emasculate Black men. Somebody type emasculate Black men in the chat room.
Somebody type emasculate.
We need to unify, but only with the like-minded. Power and unity, you see? But it comes from Black men unifying amongst themselves first. Since the 1960s, you know, that was the last time we had unity, you know, before Black American women chose the government and government assistance over the Black family. And as the Black woman goes, so goes the Black community, because the Black community is and always has been matriarchal or the dominant society. And unfortunately,
so Black male unity. But I think a lot of times that can't be achieved. We put a cart before the horse a lot of times. If Black men don't love themselves, don't have a language or have time spent centering themselves, prioritizing themselves, getting themselves together, putting themselves first and loving that, it's going to be hard for you to trust and love another Black man to unify with, right? Right? If you don't, and that may explain why we see a dearth, or some of us experience a dearth in Black male collaboration. We don't see it express itself in a critical mass, so to speak. Echoes in isolation. What's up? Haven't you been doing that, Kang? Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna watch Echoes in isolation, but unity, solidarity, Black male solidarity. I think centering ourselves, decentering the things that are clogging up the pathway to centering ourselves, which is really the women and children for some of us, or the prospects of children for some of us. Centering yourself, I think, can help cultivate an environment or orientation for Black men to better cooperate and display some sort of sense of unity and solidarity. I think that comes first. I don't think you can say, sure, work together with niggas. Start working more with Black men. And then nothing happens. Because I don't think Black men are in the place to do that, is to the best of our ability. But I think it could be worked on by decentering the things that we shouldn't be prioritizing and centering the things that we should, i.e. yourself, your well-being, your life, and your passion and your mission and your purpose. Centering that first. Centering that first. Let me play this one because I think it speaks to a feel.
Look at me.
I think
the Black community stood by and said nothing as Black feminists criminalized our sons. The Black community stood by and said nothing when Black boys had to watch images of Black women insulting Black men with all type of accusations of being secretly gay. The Black community stood by and watched as Black women went on talk shows and Black women on the internet danced on Kevin Samuel's grave or danced on Kobe Bryant's grave because he wasn't married to a Black woman, wished for Jamie Foxx's death because of his children's background. The Black community stood by, man. Black women stood by and said nothing. As a matter of fact, cheered it on. The Black community
cheered it on. So remember that when you feel guilty about centering yourself, Black man. Remember that. Like the show. I don't know. I'm not looking at my likes, so just like it. Like it if you're here. Appreciate the 17 watching. So yeah, Remember that when you feel guilty for centering yourself or putting yourself first, or someone tries to make you feel guilty. Remember the decades of silent consent that essentially the entire community, minus, some exceptions, but Black men, Black women, Black everyone, Black elders alike, stood by and watched these things, this misandry run rampant. Remember that. Remember what Black boys have endured. Remember yourself as a Black boy and what you endured. And maybe it wasn't as dramatic as enduring abuse, but maybe neglect, maybe not being supported or prepared like you should have, maybe being left too much to your own devices and that you had to just get shit out the mud your entire life, which is the story of a lot of Black men that I know that they're proud of. But when you find yourself feeling guilty or someone shames you for not prioritizing them or centering them, just remember that no one said a thing as Black men were called gay, broke, incarcerated, lazy, dumb, useless, DL, chomos, wife beaters, ruthless patriarchs with no soul or mercy. Remember, we were characterized this way for decades, and no one had a problem with it. The Black community didn't have a problem with it. So that's the energy that I'm on. But let me see what other, and I'll let Black Uru speak to this, what we've been talking about thus far. Give me a like. Let me know if it's making sense. Let me know if you liking the content, if you digging it, and we'll keep going.
In terms of creating, to me, one of the best gifts you can give a young Black boy is to help him to try to envision how he's going to develop himself economically, where he's not dependent on Black women. That's one of the most important steps you will take in terms of creating because a lot of the misbehavior of Black men is born of their economic dependence on Black females, either directly or indirectly. To me,
absolutely, Uru. But shout out Louis Kanye for the Cash App. I didn't even see it. My bad, bro. Louis Kanye for the 5. Man, hey, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. I can't even express how much gratitude I have because you allow for me to speak freely and not rely on YouTube monetization because I don't care about it, because I find it insulting. And Louis, I appreciate you and I thank you again for giving me the opportunity to say this to YouTube.
You hope, don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f yourself.
But
go f yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
I hope it is. YouTube. But shout out to Louis, man, because you give me the luxury to say that. You give me the luxury to flex like that. Because Black male media is supported by Black men. And we all we got and we all we need. But appreciate you, Louis Kanye. Let me make sure I'm not missing more. Yeah, okay, cool. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate it. All dollars matter. All dollars matter. I am humbled by that donation. But to Uru's point, protect the best advice you can give a Black boy, or even not just a Black boy, which is why I put the clip in the description. By the way, I think all these clips are in the description if you want us to look at them, share them, save them, whatever. But more than just advice for a Black boy to be is financially independent from Black women and the matriarchy and the gynocracy as humanly possible. But for Black men, building their lives, you hustling, you grinding, even going into retirement. Keep your autonomy as much as possible. Like Black women have displayed how valuable, how much they value their autonomy. They will burn families down. They will sacrifice societies. They will sacrifice wealth. They will sacrifice everything. They will damn near die behind their autonomy. Which, I mean, it's something to learn from there. Not to say that they're right, but there's something to learn from there. What are you willing to do to maintain your autonomy, Black man? Your Black male independence, huh? Oh man, shout out Saint Sia for the donation, man. Appreciate you, bro. Y'all doing too much tonight. But I love every donation, and it's not even the money. It's not about the money. I like to not have to depend on YouTube monetization and say,
You don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself.
But
go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
I hope it is, because I'm not policing my speech. I want this message to get out to my brothers, and I'm not going to police my speech. When I say it, I'm not going to really observe any of the policies that may get me more ads ran during my content, because I don't care. That's not why I started this. I genuinely did not start this channel to make money from YouTube. But obviously the donations are appreciated and they inspire me, because we understand money is just currency, and it inspires me. It shows that you guys value the content, and I appreciate it. I don't want you to think I don't. But what I appreciate more is being able to say, fuck you, YouTube. Don't advertise on my shit and don't break me off. And I'll just rely on my community to do that. But what else is being relied on, to my next clip's point, which I'm glad I found, is you, Black man. You refusing to decenter women and children has you in the position of, essentially, you're a community's retirement plan
for them on some level. So, why do you think the gynocracy tries so hard to keep the men well on into their 30s and 40s and 50s? They do this shit because they know on the inside, regardless of the type of job they did as a mother, right? They know on the inside that they're going to need provision. And so they use shit like guilt and shame and what sign language, basically, the need to be right and all that. They use that to get people to get their children to fuck with them. If they don't have any children, they try to see how much leverage they have with you in order for you to provide for them on some level. So regardless of which way they go about it, the thing is, they understand that shit gets harder. And why do you think the gynocracy,
shout out to Grinch, man. Shout out to Grinch. That was a gem. Because he's right.
But why do you think that is?
Why do you think the gynocracy guilts you and shames you? It's to essentially lock you in to constantly trying to pay recompense for this shame or this guilt they bestow on you, which orientates you to essentially center your sweet mama. Your sweet mama. Yes, even her is willing to deploy manipulation tactics and guilt and shame, sign language, as Kevin Samuel says, or said. Rest in peace. Yes, your mama is willing to deploy these things. You know it. Many of you in the audience have already experienced it. I have. Shout out Landon. Shout out Red Lion, ESV. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Music Man, 1982. What's good, bro? Yeah. Your mama, she'll use these tactics. She'll use shame, insults, need to be right, guilt, to keep you from centering yourself, and maybe, just maybe, not be willing or not be in a position to expend resources and time and energy on her retirement plan. Maybe if you centered yourself, maybe you to be too busy to come over and put that bookshelf together or move that couch over because she wants to redecorate. Maybe you be too busy or you not be in a position to come take her to her doctor's appointments or pick her up and drop her off. In the case of your wife, they constantly keep you in a guilty position, a shameful, guilty position. Some of them use that they're victims of the patriarchy, and you need to orientate yourself in such a way that alleviates that suffering that they've had to go through by having to be up under men, the dominance of men. And some guys go for it. Some guys center their wives totally. Happy wife, happy life. I'm gonna just make sure she good and happy at every moment, and then I'm good and happy. But no, bro. No, black man. Meanwhile, a white man shamed his own mother. Shout out to Eminem. You ain't lying, Landon. You peeped it? You peeped the difference? You peep the difference, because that is a vast difference. Eminem's a good example of that, extreme example of that, but good. And we won't dare but a lot of times because we're too busy making up for a decade of downloaded shame or guilt that you need to be making up for your daddy's mistakes. You need to be making up for the potential mistakes you might make in the future. You need to be you need to be guilty for not making, what does Mr. Z say, making black women rich white women. You need to be making up for slavery, nigga. You need to be making up for Jim Crow. You need to be making up for racism. So where the fuck, how are you, what time does a black man, what space does a black man have to shame his mama? You making up for being a rambunctious little boy and scraping your knee a couple times and having her worried. I remember my mama made me feel guilty for getting hurt as a kid. I remember thinking, now that I said that out loud, I remember my mama in weird ways would make me feel guilty, like it's a goddamn burden on her whole life when I would fall off a bike and she got to worry about this. And she used this shit into my adulthood. Like, I just been worried about you and taking care of you. And you don't realize these are small ways that instill guilt into you. Well, damn, mom, okay, all right. Well, let me make sure and this shit is on purpose. This shit is purposefully designed that you center your mother, or just center women in general. Because then your girl picks up this same strategy. And you find yourself making up for shit that you haven't even done yet. As a millennial black man, and throughout my dating experience, it's funny because pretty much it's a ritual in the first, in the early parts of forming a relationship with a woman, that she brings up like a paranoia about me cheating on her. And at this point, we haven't even been together or talking long enough for me to cheat on her. But if you notice, and I'm sure I'm not the only person, immediately as the relationship is established, guilt for something you haven't even done yet, it might be cheating, is installed subtly, where you end up, I'm not gonna cheat on you. You end up having you have to reassure And this is designed to sow a level of guilt beforehand that you have in the back of your mind. But this is designed to do this, black men. And this only works with men that are not already oriented around centering themselves, loving themselves, knowing themselves, and focused on something have a higher aim, focused on something higher than the trivial ass machinations of your mama and your girl. You know what I'm saying? Relatively trivial, if we really being honest. But it's designed that way to keep you in a perpetual state of guilt. And that guilt, I'm listening. What's good, bro? You pulled up, man. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Wouldn't have been the same if you wasn't here. Shout out to the 19 watching, man. I'm glad y'all listening to my rant, my ramble, as BGS would say. But yeah, Chef Mike, you hear me? It's a way of making you soft. Yeah. Period. Indigo Flow, what's up, bro? What's good, bro? I'm glad y'all pulled up. But yeah, and Grinch illustrated it perfectly. A lot of us, you are a retirement plan for women and children in a lot of cases inside of our community. Sad to say. You are not to be served. You are to be of service in perpetuity to the day you die. And then you might get the label that was a good black man. That's when you might get the affirmation that's a good black man. And the guilt will be removed. But yes, to his point, it's designed purposefully to render you not focused on yourself and by extension your own mission and your own purpose, and you go unfulfilled because nobody's damn sure not prioritizing you. You know that. Yeah, give me a like as you guys come in. Appreciate it. I appreciate the like. It's all likes is free, like they say. But yeah. But also I wanted to play this clip because I like to the piece of what does a black man do once he comes to the position where he's loving himself, he's centering himself, but like Osei said, you can't be your fully you, the self-determined you without relationship to other people. So I'm not saying to isolate yourself and become a recluse. Again, I know a lot of guys, especially guys in this space, are sigmas. As far as personality type orientation, will be called a sigma, and the sigma can be can be a individualist, so to speak. But which is nothing wrong with it. But at the same time, having an understanding that relationships are important, and we know that. So centering doesn't mean fuck everybody and only care about yourself. That's not what it means. But let's listen to Ron Wills give us his take.
Because if you're around some men who don't want to have positive relationships, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. Now I know some dudes will think, well, no, well, I can just do it on my own or something. Going through life, I'm gonna tell you what. And it's not like you have to have other men help you. Just being around them is going to affect you in ways that's not always obvious.
And I don't want to cut them off, but I got to say something in particular because people will probably get this space confused that we're a space full of men that don't want to have positive relationships. But I think the space proves the exact opposite. I think we're a representation of a group of men or black men who want to have positive relationships, prioritize positive relationships very much. So much so that we will sit here and deconstruct ad nauseum to the granular, down to the micro particle social dynamics, relationships. even dynamics between men, that the dynamics between children, children to adults, adults to children. We discuss relationships here. This is not a what they like to call the space, NPR call the space, incels and motherfuckers in their basement and all that goofy shit, and they don't have friends and don't have any social skills and the social acuity. That's not this space. The people you listen to aren't trying to convince you to say fuck relationships, fuck social interaction. We're actually edifying our understanding of social interaction relationships and coming into some uncomfortable truths along the way, of course. But to the field master Ron Will's point, which I think he would call himself a Sigma. And even he's saying, yeah, I'm definitely a Sigma too, bro. Definitely. But even he's saying he calls himself a what does he call himself? Sovereign. And he understands it's a lonely road. But even he says you surround yourself with men that want to have positive relationships. And again, you can mistake some of our rhetoric sometimes because we're being honest as people who do not value or prioritize or wish to have positive relationships. But that's exactly the opposite. I think we seek to have genuinely positive relationships, especially if you're in the vein of the red pill and observing reality. Our problems aren't the relationships. It's the disingenuous, traitorous, antisocial way this society contemporarily organizes relationships, friendships, interpersonal relationships, intimate relationships. White people have basements. Incelism is a luxury of white men. You ain't fucking lying. Nigga, you gotta have a basement to be a nigga in the basement jerking off in your parents' fucking giant suburban house. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here. Niggas barely got a goddamn black men, damn near the most homeless in every city, ain't they? But alpha submissive women always trying to be like a man. Yeah. But I don't want to cut Rhyme off before we lose a thought. Let me start it over.
Because if you're around some men who don't want to have positive relationships, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. Now, I know some dudes will think, well, no, well, you know, I can just do it on my own or something. You know, going through life, I'm going to tell you what. And it's not like you have to have other men help you. Just being around them. Just being around them is going to affect you in ways that's not always obvious. Subtle ways. How they move and everything. That's a very important thing. You want to have men. And then y'all can start really, y'all might be able to rise up together in the sense of having a mastermind. You know, you got these guys thinking, okay, y'all throwing stuff off of each other. You know, y'all have some ideas, y'all sharing those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take you to another level itself. It's powerful. It's because if you're around some men.
Yeah. And what Ram is speaking to there is, again, self-determination, rather. And you notice the dynamics of self-determination are kind of ironic or kind of contradictory in terms of the terms. Self-determination, you think, is a thing that is done in total, and essentially can be achieved in total isolation because it's self-determination. But to his point, you find that in relationships, like the relationship to this space, how much have you been edified by being in proximity and in Congress and in conversation and in collaboration with all these thousands of different black men from around the country, in some cases around the world? How much have you grown by just having even these virtual relationships and associations and conversations? How much could you have achieved this in isolation, you think? And I don't think you're designed, I don't care how much of a Sigma or independent thinker or individualist you think you are, or, you know, kind of solo dolo type you are. You're not getting the most out of yourself in isolation. I don't care. I don't believe that. I really don't. Because I'm that type. I've went through that period in my life. And I can say the relationships that I forged along the way have edified me and made me more of a dog than I otherwise would be, you know, just keeping to myself. Sick Diggy, what's good, bro? What up? Yeah, but I think he's right. I think we need to learn to we got to get away from the women and children, to deprioritize that. Prioritize yourself firstly, and if you the most return on your investment, immediate return on your investment is going to be in forging relationship with like-minded. What did attorney Sperling say? Like-minded men, like we have in these spaces, even in this chat right now. Forging relationships with other Black men, especially as a Black man, because we know where we are collectively. We could use some collaboration, some trust to be fostered amongst each other. And I think that's where energy, resources, and time going to be used in the most efficient manner at this point, especially where those things are going to be extremely valuable going forward. Extremely crucial what you do with your time, resources, and energy. And focusing those on women and children is not, I don't think, what we're here to do as men. Especially as Black men, we have a history of not centering necessarily ourselves, but centering the community, centering the macro, centering our mamas, our wives, our daughters, our sons, our kids, centering everybody else. Sick Diggy says, men need and require a fellowship with like-minded men. Men that one can have common ground / interests with. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're a social animal, man. Just to establish the first principles of the situation. You're social. You're not designed to not forge fellowship and relationships. You're not. So part of centering yourself, I think part of loving yourself, part of developing yourself is going to be, if you are blessed with the luxury of like-minded men in your real life or around you, foster those. Don't be a dickhead and not, don't be antisocial. Have conversations. Check on niggas and see if they good. Just start to practice some fellowship, and along with the centering and loving of yourself. And I think we can't lose in that orientation. And I think we'll be better for it. And our spaces will be better for it, and we will be better oriented to tackle the things we're going to face in the coming years. If you know, you know. Again, this is initiated, so you guys know. But I don't want to talk y'all ears off. If y'all want to come up and chop it up, it's cool. The link is pinned at the top. Let me know if I need to re-share it. But my rant is done. I think I made my point pretty much. But I do think it's difficult for Black men. We need to have these conversations amongst, the initiated, and consider this phenomenon when we observing the uninitiated. Because even those of us who aren't lucky enough to be in these spaces to have these discussions and know these concepts and know these ideas, those men are not centering themselves either. And if you study them and watch them, you can learn a lot about yourself. You can learn maybe better how to approach, initiating them. Because I do think those of us who got people we love, Black men, Black males, Black boys in our lives that we love, that we've already invested in, that prior to finding this information, that we've already, communed with. But a lot of this information we know could everybody don't need to be red pilled, but I definitely think we need to try to, and that's been my point in my channel, is to try to spread this rhetoric, spread this. What I'm the minister of counter propaganda, not to obviously counter the propaganda, but to also offer, because in this space we've designed and crafted, or this space has designed and crafted some amazing language and amazing concepts that help Black men understand their life. So I would want that for as many Black men as possible, and not just the ones that can stumble upon, a YouTube algorithm. But we need as many Mandalorians as we can gather. Everybody can't go. But as far as Passport OG, what's good?
Salute, sir.
What's up, big dog?
Hey, man, ain't nothing, man. I appreciate you clipping. You're like the sports center of the space, right? So you clip stuff up, and then you can go on your journey and look in different places, right? So
yes, sir.
You're very appreciated for that, sir.
Oh no, man, thank you. I'm just trying to get like you, bro. If I can make any impact, your channel is inspiration, man. I gotta start clipping you more, but it just be too. I be damn near too enthralled in the content. I'll be forgetting to damn near listen for the gems. But it's packed with too many of them. But I appreciate it, man. I really. Do.
But my content is out of what you're just talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
The space. I mean, you call it space and Black Manosphere, whatever you want to call it. It gives you like a grounding, right? Like it, because you're going. I found this space because I was looking for content on what they call it, a borderline personality disorder. What's it, a narcissist? Whatever, narcissist, whatever. And I was, because I was dealing with breakup, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it made some sense, but it didn't make enough sense. There's still holes there, right? And then I think I may have found. I think it was Obsidian first. I'm not quite sure the order. But went somewhere from Obsidian to BGS to Kevin Samuels. I forget the order. But like you start hearing stuff that makes sense. Like, oh no, it's not just me. Oh, it's a lot of not just men, but Black men dealing with relationship problems, but the fact that you're overcompensating in your relationships. You're doing way more than you're supposed to do.
Yep.
And then you start to now the holes start getting filled in, and you bounce ideas off of each other. It's okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that you're not going crazy is appreciated, because you can't be going crazy if you're running into other guys that are dealing with the same issues, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I feel exactly. That's exactly almost a similar, almost a mirror image of how I felt about if this space filled holes I didn't even know I had. After you, like you said, you come to. I found this space actually through Kevin Samuels. Me and my girl during the pandemic, we was like many people binging Kevin Samuels, and that probably just triggered the algorithm at that point. And then I started seeing BGS, I think and a couple other guys, and then I slowly fell into the rabbit hole. But then the same thing, I realized it wasn't necessarily. I wouldn't characterize that I was at the point I found the space that I was going through any breakups or anything, but it did immediately. I had always had a sense that something was off with the interactions, with the relationships, with how we went about the Klingon mating. I sensed shit was off, but I didn't have the language. Didn't really have the references to kind of understand exactly the zeitgeist. But once you start slipping down that rabbit hole, then it just opened up a whole panacea of shit, which is invaluable. I can't even calculate how valuable for my own sanity and mental health and understanding this space has been. So yeah, most definitely that's what inspired me to kind of start my channel, so to try to help spread the shit that helped me. So that's kind of why I collect shit. And for sharing
that's I mean, look, I remember I was looking at YouTube. I was like, I'll never do YouTube. And then I would watch Kevin Samuels. And then when he passed away, that was like the first time I was like, you know what? I got to say something.
Yep.
Right. And because if Kevin Samuels watching Kevin Samuels, if he had done content into perpetuity, I would just be a watcher.
Mm-hmm.
But when he passed away and I saw that reaction, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not. And the truth be told, I'm not even a very adversarial type of guy. You can tell that in my content. Like, I don't necessarily. I mean, the B-Dub. There are a bunch of people that B-Dub, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But I've had good relationships with Black women. Just they didn't end the right way. Like so. All of that said, just when I saw certain things, I just know that I can't let guys get into a relationship thinking, oh, I can make this work if I try hard enough and gung ho, and then you get 2 kids in and she switches up and you're stuck. Like I can't let that happen to any good dudes behind me, because that was my biggest fear, dude. I was abstinent for the year and a half before I left, because I didn't want anybody pregnant in America. Nobody. So yeah. I see Namer's up, so I'll give him some space.
Namer, what's up?
Hey guys, what's going on? Just appreciate
on,
having
man?
me up. That's cool. Oh, by the way, before I say what I say, Password G. You said you were looking up into cluster B personality disorders. Hey, we can talk. We can have a conversation about that, because I do suffer from a cluster B personality disorder, and I try to have conversations about that with someone in a very constructive way. But getting off topic, but getting back on topic, talking about this whole need for fellowship and trying to make sense of everything. For me, my introduction into this space goes back to like 2012, going 2013. I was like in a very severe. This is when my mental health was really bad, and the only thing that kept me from self-harm was Patrice O'Neal, Black Phillip show.
Yeah.
And I was binge watching the Black Phillip show because it kept me grounded. It was helping me make sense of a lot of things, because I was experiencing it, because some of the stuff that Patrice and everything was talking about, I'd experienced in the early 2000s back where I'm from. Because I was in my native Eritrea, and there was things I was watching. I realized it, and I was kind of red pill but blue pill simultaneously, or purple pill, if you could say.
Yeah.
But I just did not have the vocabulary for it. But it was listening to Patrice, and then eventually I came across certain MGTOW channels, and then eventually I came across BGS, and that's when I learned about Ibmore and everything. And so I've been consuming a lot of this, but I realized I couldn't talk to a lot of people about it. I remember telling brothers, hey, check out Patrice or whatnot, but I realized some people were saying, oh no, he was this, that, and the third, but I was finding common ground with that and understanding, oh, now it makes sense. And then when I went back watching certain shows I used to watch, like for example, I watched HBO's The L Word, so I can understand, because it made me get rid of the rose-tinted glasses and see female nature at its prime, at its most raw and primal.
Yeah.
And it made a lot of sense to why people act the way they do. And then along the way, when I finally got my diagnosis, I started delving into cluster B personality disorders, understanding why people act a certain way, and things were making sense. And when learning from BGS about other things, I'm like, especially about geopolitics, and like I'm starting to connect a lot of dots.
Yep.
It's just, but the problem was there was no fellowship, and the only thing I can think of fellowship was like going back to like my father's generation when I was growing up, because I remember the men in my family, they always had a certain spot they would hang out. It was usually like a coffee shop, and this is what I remember was growing up in exile or back home in my native Eritrea. There was always like a coffee shop where the men would meet up, and they would discuss politics, discuss whatever they were discussing at the time, things that a third. I also remember like being around the women, and they would like come together at someone's house, and they'd be gossiping with and trying to make sense and everything, and seeing like how the groups need to be away from each other. And I also learned just going over to see my dad when he was meeting up with his friends. I also learned about respect, the who's who, understanding who's related to what, and how to respect other men, and trying to gain a certain type of fellowship with men of my own ilk, of various groups. So I was trying to find like-minded people, but me being, a little out there, but also a little open-minded. Just didn't really fit in with certain people. It's like I think I needed to be around other people. Who could relate to me in other realms, because I was just too weird, I guess.
And yeah, and the same here is like this. To your point, what this space offered for me too, because it was like I've always been. I've like to think of myself as an intellectual. I've always been into history and science and you know the more so-called nerdy topics. And it's not a lot of, especially in America. You kind of when you like that, you're kind of isolated because it's not a lot of that type of, like even you described, we really didn't, outside like the barber shop for black men in America is like a place where you can fellowship, but even then that it only goes so deep there, you know.
It was
But
very limited when you think
yeah,
about it, because there's only
exactly.
certain topics you could speak, like certain, I mean, like at a
Yeah,
barbershop, I remember barbershops I used to frequent, only thing you could talk about was like sports or music. Among my friends, we were talking about sports,
yeah,
video games, or music.
yeah,
For a time, we were watching professional wrestling. That was about it.
yeah,
But realizing, like, certain things you just couldn't talk about, especially
yeah.
it was too dangerous, especially in my day, like it was too dangerous to talk about politics.
And and the same here. And it was, so it was that kind of a little bit of a shallowness there. And this space was really like, because I got into like the conscious movement as far as like online studying all the pro-black history and just the conscious, John Henry Clark, because those are the, like, for me in this modern era, that was like the closest thing I could find to like black intellectualism, outside of like college. But I didn't go to like a HBCU or no shit like that. So it wasn't a lot of, just for me personally, like I'm in Chicago, it wasn't a lot of, again, this space was like for the first time, a space of a lot of, like, a bunch of black men that were smarter than me and thought even deeper than me, and was just, I could actually, like you said, those deeper conversations you really couldn't have in a barbershop, you could have in these spaces, and just listening to conversations. I do a lot of listening to just guys' panels and streams, as you guys can probably notice because I clip them. But it's just, I don't think it's hard to even put into words how valuable,
If
like
I
you
may,
described, this space. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think is like Patrice O'Neill said it best in one particular episode. I remember it was when he was dealing with a female co-host who said something, and then he looked at her and said, "Do you know what's the difference between the men and the women here?" And he pointed to all the men in the room with him. He said, "We learn from one another, and we try to build each other up." I mean, I may bring up something interesting. They learn from it, and they teach me. I learn something from them. We all build up together. We don't try to use what we learn from one another and try to attack each other. Unfortunately, there are men who do that to one another. But women, when women, they talk, they try looking for information to attack one another with or bring each other down.
Yeah.
Because they operated like in a zero-sum game. We are trying to find mutual benefit, and sometimes we're going to learn from each other's perspectives. But sometimes some people just like get so like-minded. It's kind of like you have like certain groups become like kind of in a, not like an echo chamber, but more like they become factional.
Yeah.
And the prime and that becomes so, because everybody ends up becoming so like-minded. You have to you got to be completely 100% on the same code with one another and not have varying perspectives or different perspectives. Like all of you have to be one way of thinking, which can be, even if it could be detrimental to everybody, just like the whole notion of like trying to keep it real.
Right. Yeah. And this space does a good job at that. But Inspired Truth, what up, bro? I just saw you come up. What's good? Appreciate you pulling up.
Oh, hey, yeah, thanks for that. I was like kind of hoping that I didn't come in too late. Like I saw that I just kind of saw it pop up at the last minute, so I said maybe I should jump on in here. I was thinking back on how I got into space. Like it just kind of like was a similar story where I was into like the pro-black side of things, and then eventually one thing led to another, and then I came across Dr. T, and so from Dr. T on over to everything else, BGS and all the others, Shout out to Passport OG. I see you up in here too. So yeah, I caught on to you. And the whole thing that kind of comes to mind is actually like connecting the dots. Like when we were in like the barber shops, like the barber shop several years ago, and maybe you hear about like a dude, just kind of like breaking down that barber chair, like crying and like wilding out because of some crazy stuff that happened to him. Maybe he got like set up by a chick, and he was like all like went from excited to getting robbed and just kind of like kind of having this issue with that. And we find out that this stuff isn't like a regional thing, it's not a local thing. So like the stuff that like you'll go through will be the same thing that somebody else on another coast will go through. It's not just isolated incidents, and a part of it is kind of like the isolation too, because like sometimes the isolation could be a particular control tactic. Say you like hanging out with other guys, and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, why are you hanging out with guys? That's gay." Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what that's designed for. I hope black men know that. Just the disincentive to associate or congregate with other black men is layers to how that's designed, how the disincentives are designed. So, and that's absolutely one of them. It's gay to listen to I've heard, not me personally, but I've heard men be called gay for referencing an idea of another man.
Yep.
Not even just referencing another man's idea called gay. That's your daddy. That's why you listen to other men. Why are you fight? But you don't have your own mind. It's a lot of very subtle things that are programmed into you from an early age, even probably from teenage years, when you're just you learn these ways to disincentivize you congregating and even just really listening to another black man. So yeah, absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that was all good. And on top of that, kind of piggybacking on that, keeping you isolated is just another way of kind of keeping you ignorant and weak. You don't know things, and that makes you more controllable, and it kind of keeps you away from the information and the way that you should be moving. Which is why spaces like this are good. The space that we have is good for getting brothers out of that out of that isolation and control, and out of that box and into actual enlightenment, and sharing that with other people, and hopefully giving them some better results.
Excuse me. I forgot to mention something. First of all, one word is disincentivize. That's one word. When you said antisocial, I think I had mentioned in the chat, the actual word is actually misanthropic or misanthrope. Antisocial, unfortunately, is actually used as a clinical term for someone who has antisocial personality disorder, aka sociopathy or psychopathy. And that's one word I think people need to understand. Certain terms are misused or
absolutely.
People don't understand the definition of certain terms, so sometimes they get misused.
Absolutely. No, appreciate that, because I definitely don't want to be throwing around clinical terms wrong. So no.
I want to piggyback on what Inspired Truth just said. The win is not too bad, is it?
No, you good.
Okay. So I think the single point that made me motivated enough to start talking was the idea that let's say that you're a young black boy and you're really good at math and you're good at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the people that are going to fan your flame and pour into you? Like, think about the smart black boy versus sitting next to the smart black girl, and he's hearing black girl magic. There's nothing wrong with black girl magic. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But people are waiting for that boy to materialize so he can provide them stuff, right? They're waiting for him to become the Mr. You did it all, you got to the mountaintop or whatever. Now you got to pay us back. But who are the people that are paying into him when he's trying to get there? Because if he gets there and he's just a faucet to be taken from, then it fundamentally rubs me the wrong way. If you're going to expect that kid to build something, you need to pour in that kid when he's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and then when he gets there, shut the bleep up and listen to him because he had to do the work to get there, right?
Facts.
I look at our system as the whole system of the black community is to take functional black men and extort resources from them.
Yes.
Without pouring any. Could you make me a sandwich? I ain't getting you no sandwich. Who you think you is?
I'm not even smiling at you. Fuck.
No.
Fuck a sandwich.
You can't even smile to the brother and bring me a cup of coffee while I'm sitting at the desk grinding? No?
Right.
Okay, well then, and this is why the Passport Bro movement really, really just blew the whole thing up.
Yep.
Because there's somewhere some chick that says he may be black and all that stuff, but he's good to me. I'll do for him what I would have done for a guy in my own culture.
Yep.
And you are basically lifting the veil off of being a mule in the black Ado social complex, right?
Absolutely.
You're supposed to be a mule. You get slop. I had my fun. I got 2 kids. I'm 37. Be happy I'm talking to you. And if that guy says, "Oh, whoa," I get a plane ticket, and it takes the cover off of all of it.
Yep.
And that's why I have a channel, because if anytime I make a video, if one dude sees my video and he says, "You know what? This relationship I'm in ain't about nothing."
Yep.
Then I did a good job in that doggone video.
Amen.
Because I'd rather him do that than to get caught 2 kids in, be a productive black man.
Mm-hmm.
And having to pay child support to a woman that's having sex with her old baby daddy because he's too boring. Like, we can't build nothing. It's just a system for demolishing like men that are productive. It just consumes productive men, and it drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely nuts.
100% agree. And what's even worse than that is what I found was what was more common in the black Ado social construct is that productive black man sacrifices and gives his whole life, and he never actually gets to a point where he recognizes that it's not being appreciated or paid back. He just winds up completely empty shell of himself, and a lot of times blaming himself for not feeling as though it was all worth it or was appreciated. That was what angers me. That generations of men have already died, not even knowing that the gynocracy exists, not knowing that they were engineered to be a serf, died not knowing that essentially they were an object, and a lot of times died regretting things, regretting that they didn't do more for the gynocracy.
I would say, to piggyback what Passport G is, to pick up what he's putting down.
Mm-hmm.
The best analogy, I think, it would be like you are a praying mantis, because you understand how they are being cannibalized, how young men are being cannibalized by women in a sense, socially, financially, emotionally, whatnot. It's like the mating rituals of a praying mantis or widow spiders, for example.
Yeah.
Where the female will, after mating with the male, will try to consume the male to prevent him from trying to mate with others.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the exact same dynamic. It's it might be even more insidious because they're engineering. We're engineered as a community. The black boy is born and engineered from multiple vectors, from multiple layers over decades to be essentially at least the spider, like the black widow, will like suddenly just kill you after you give her the offspring. Like the gynocracy,
give her the sperm and everything,
enslaves you.
Yeah, and then ties like your masculinity to service to them.
Then enslaves you and then gaslights you. Like imagine
the gaslighting is key.
Imagine
gaslighting is key.
Even our ancestors didn't have to. Even actual slavery, like like being a slave on a plantation, you knew what the situation was. Like it wasn't a big giant lie. Like they didn't have a big elaborate scheme that made you not understand that you were actually a slave and that you were going to work till you died. You pretty much that was understood, and nobody tried to hide that. Really, you were owned, you were property. It was pretty much overt. It was horrible, but at least it was overt. This slavery is subtle. Again, you end up dying feeling like you could have did more. That's what makes me. That's what angers me. The potential. That's why I spread this shit, and I'm as. I've screamed this shit from the mountaintops because that's the horror of the gynocracy. That's the true horror.
Look at it this way, and I gotta give shout out to my brother Charles Faulkner on his channel. He's mentioned this many times. Shout out to Charles. He's mentioned this analogy for those of us who grew up in the 90s, who were exposed to TV, especially watching black comedies, black sitcoms and whatnot. Family Matters, the dynamics between Steve Urkel and Laura Winslow, versus the dynamics between Urkel and Myra Bunkhouse. Bunkhouse, excuse me. One used it only, one despised and disregarded and found him a nuisance, and he was sent towards and would only use him when he was convenient or useful to her. The other genuinely loved him and catered to him, and was willing to was willing to invest in him because she saw a lot of potential and had the foresight to know this was somebody who I can have common ground with. I mean, the first time that if you remember, there was this episode where Myra and, by the way, R.I.P. to the actress who played Myra, and she rests in peace. I know it's going to be like 25 years now since she passed. The way that she and Urkel bonded in one episode, they just started playing the accordion together.
Yeah, I think I remember that one actually.
You remember that? Come on, you look at. He's like surprised she plays the accordion, and next thing you know, they're going back at it. Something out of whatchamacallit. If you remember that scene from The Deliverance, the guitar versus the banjo, just like that. That's what they played. I forgot the name of that song.
But Urkel was correct me if I'm wrong, but Urkel was like super enthralled with the other chick that didn't like him, right?
Laura, yes, he was initially.
Right.
No, that's the point of the show. That's what carried the show. Is him begging Laura for attention.
Yeah.
And then what happened when he changed? And then remember when he messed with his genes a little bit and turned himself into his alter ego, Stefan Urkel, and what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, but I think one of the really beautiful things about the space, and I really appreciate this idea, is disconnecting manhood from feminine approval. Like manhood is based on accomplishment. What did you do? What did you build? So I don't have anything against Cam Newton. I mean, I think all things considered, he's a decent guy. He won the genetic lottery and just it's a mammoth human being. But he has children with how many different women? And
3.
If women are walking around saying, "Oh, that's the kind of guy I want," it's like you want him because of the genetic material, which is fine. But that's like base level human existence. Like I want to be with a guy that's good looking, tall, and can make me feel good. But what do you want for your kids?
Yeah.
Like, if you want your kids to have good genetics, okay, fine. What do you want them to be able to do, build, be a part of? Because then you have to look from your grandmother lens. What do you want your grandkids doing? And if you never ever even put on the grandmother lens, then your society is going to look like Black America when China's building doggone high-speed rail in the time that you have the Iraq War.
Exactly.
From the beginning of the Iraq War, there was no high-speed rail in China. Now they got the biggest system in the world. That is not sexy. That is, hey, listen, we sacrificing for the group, and you got some 5'3" dude with glasses on that's planning the whole thing, and he's got a wife that's saying, hey, listen, he's not the sexiest guy. This guy's pretty darn important, and I got to do my part.
Facts.
If you don't get past I got to get a guy who's tall and good looking and make me feel good, he could blow my back out. Then you're just going to get what we got.
Yeah.
You're going to get what's his name? Unk interviewing strippers. Like, this is Hot Black History Month. Come on, dog.
You saw that? Yeah.
Come on, man. Like interview somebody that matters.
Exactly. To the piece of disconnect, I think that was a super key. for most black men, because that's like that idea isn't, that's not a popular idea. Manhood in the black social complex is 100% tied to feminine approval.
How many girls you can get?
Yes, that was a key. That was so valuable of a key that I don't think we'll probably appreciate it as time goes on. We probably can't appreciate it now, but that changed. I think that has potential to change basically everything. That's a fundamental aspect of the gynocracy. That's what maintains. That's what fuels the men's commitment to it, because they think in some sense, or they were trained in some sense to believe that, yeah, you become a man through service to women and children.
That's a deep, sad thing, because that's about identity. That's like, okay, your purpose for existence is for this purpose.
Exactly. To serve, not to serve humanity. Like that's what you're speaking to. Or that's what functional advanced societies do. They orientate the men to serve humanity or the greater aim of the society at large. And they don't. So they use every man. They use the Cam Newtons and they use the 5'3" scientists.
That's right.
They use every man to contribute to humanity, essentially. I guess just holistically speaking. But
to answer,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
To piggyback what Passport G just said here, right? You have to understand that, first of all, what kind of programming, how are people being programmed first and foremost? What I mean is this, like what he said about how certain women view certain types of men, that just shows you, it just reflects the type of the upbringing, and the way the people are programmed to conduct themselves in a particular society. I mean, like American society, the ADOS community in particular, especially how many have been been marginalized, disenfranchised and whatnot. They have been pretty much focused on base requirements or base urges. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's basically females are just viewing the world through their lizard brain. It's the genetic determinism kind of view they have.
It's like
and
the bottom half of Maslow's hierarchy.
Well, go ahead.
And the thing is the problem is a lot of them are just focused on immediate payoff or immediate gratification and whatnot. But to piggyback what he said about not having grandmother lens, it was somebody who said many great leaders in the past had said if your society is to succeed, you need to think 7 generations ahead. You have to think 7 generations ahead. This is why the ancient Greeks has that whole saying, true wisdom is when old men plant trees whose shade they will never sit under.
Yeah.
Because it's not about them. It's their thinking for future generations.
And I'm gonna let you
they have to prepare.
And I'm gonna let you go with Passport RG, but you just name her saying that the piece about or Passport actually said it. The piece about the grandmother lens is funny because I'm engaged and I got a 2-year-old. He just turned 2. His name is Mason. And I'm engaged to his mom. And when he was born, everybody was waiting on him. And I brought him over to my mom's house. She was the first person he saw from the hospital, aside from us, obviously. But what ended up coming was, it was all cute and she was loving her first grandchild. But what the conversation went on and what she ended up telling me, interestingly, and we kind of got into it then because I said, what the kind of shit is that? She basically said, I never thought about being a grandmother. And this woman is 75 years old.
Yeah.
She said she's never thought about, and I'm like, and I drilled down, what you mean you never thought about being a grandmother? What the fuck, you're 80, you damn near 80 years old and you got 2 sons. How did you not expect to ever be a grandmother? You didn't, that wasn't on your mind as a part of your life, eventually becoming a grandmother? And she was, no, it never occurred to me. I never thought about. And then she went on to say, I don't even want to be called grandma. And exactly, I'm fucking amazing. I grabbed my son and walked out of that bitch. I started to say, fuck you. But
compassionate. No, Finch.
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I was going to say this is going to blow your mind because I heard this listening to Tone Talks. You know that in America they have a $40,000 a year exemption from grandparents paying college tuition for their grandkids. That's the game that other cultures are playing.
Wow.
Their grandparents are paying for them to go to college.
Yeah.
Grandparents.
And juxtapose that to my mother never thought about being a grandmother.
And here's the key. The key is we're competing against that.
Yes.
That's our competition.
Yes.
That's that Asian kid that's sitting in that class next to you, and he doesn't have to work a summer job. He gets to do an intern or do someone volunteer or someone such. He's got resources behind him. So the fact that you can compete with him is a God blessed miracle.
Yeah.
And then you get on the other side of that, and people got their hand out.
Yeah.
I am not going to curse. I am not going to curse on your platform.
No, you good, bro. You good. I don't give a fuck about being monetized.
But that your son is competing. Listen to me. I'm watching my 13-year-old practice tennis right now. Like your son is competing against kids in China who basically their parents have every holiday, every weekend planned out from the time they're 3 until the time they're 16 for their their college exams.
Yes.
Give or take a couple of hours. That's the competition that the kids in America. Your grandparents have to be ready to contribute. They got to.
And OG, what's worse is yes, at the one-to-one individual level, like you at the classroom level, you can't compete with that kid who's getting poured in by his grandmother and getting read to 3 hours a day and all that shit. But how at the meso or macro level, how the fuck do you compete with a group of them?
Oh no, you don't.
A gang of them, a society of them.
We don't compete with them. We entertain them, which is that's what we do.
Exactly. Which is why, again, just to put the cherry on top, why I feel this space and the information in this space and what we try to represent in this space or try to cultivate in this space is it has to proliferate. And that's my whole goal. It has to, because this is what's at stake. We're going to be competing again. You just cited one group of men. What happens when you got dozens of groups, strike teams of highly trained fucking captains of industry, and we're fucking sitting here arguing with? We're sitting here and our grandmothers never thought about being a grandmother, let alone investing anything into it.
And what that really means is when I never thought about being a grandmother, what it really says is I don't have any provision set aside for my grandkids. I'm thinking about my life and how my life's going to end. And
let me clarify too, because you probably would think this woman I'm speaking about got to be a fucking 87. My mother's an AKA that went to the University of Kentucky.
Oh snap! I did a co-op up there. Okay.
Exactly.
What?
She's an AKA. Corporate.
Oh, you're saying skiwi.
Yeah.
I did that too. I had to say.
Corporate veteran, 30 years, L'Oreal, all of the biggest fashion houses. And this bitch never thought about being highly educated.
If I can say something. First of all, she worked in the fashion industry. Do you understand the level of vanity as well as how absolutely cutthroat that industry is?
No, you ain't got to.
In every aspect. Now, understand, her vanity is also there. She probably made peace with the fact she never thought she would have grandchildren because she was thinking only about herself.
Clearly.
Not to mention, and I mean, because I would tell you, my own mother, because I come from an African community, whatnot. My own mother had aspirations about having grandchildren. By the time she was in her 50s, wondering, she would ask me, have you met anyone? Have you thought of anything? Me, I'd made a choice. By the time I was in my mid-30s, I decided not to have children because the genetic component of my stuff and my baggage, and I don't want to pass that on to my children. And it was not possible to me finding a relationship at the time. But she was like, I'm praying for you. But I understood she wanted to continue the legacy. And I understand I got younger siblings and they are dealing with that pressure as well, because most of us are like Two of us are in their 40s, others are in their 30s now. So that pressure's on, and
yeah,
my
and
mother, who's
that's a totally normal. We see that phenomenon across culture. That's how you know the gynocracy is fucking broken. Because like one of a natural inclination is to reproduce and want to see your offspring and generations, like for every human society on the planet. But we're getting to a point where it sounds fucking crazy, but the black women don't want to be moms or grandmothers.
also to Pastor G's point regarding competing with other people. You're not just competing about people who have adequate resources, but they have a network and a support system behind them, because it's not just one individual. You have
that's what I meant.
That individual. There are siblings and whatnot. In many of these societies, you have to understand, they have aspirations for these children to become in the STEM fields, especially because a lot of it has to do with ego and prestige, and just a bit of a flex to the folks back home and whatnot. That my son is in law, is either a lawyer, a doctor of some kind, an engineer. But then again, I sometimes
pedigree, right?
Yeah, it's a pedigree. He went to this university, this prestigious university, or another. Prime example of that would be like the show Bob Hearts Abishola, where you see the dynamics between white American and particular Nigerian cultures. And other shows or something like that. Also like Fresh Off the Boat, excuse me. So you understand, like, there is an emphasis to excel and succeed and to become the top of everything. And the amount of prestige that reflects on the family, because there's one thing that's important to these families: honor, prestige, your reputation, your clan, and how it reflects everyone back home. Because a lot of this has to be high positions that command respect.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure that a conversation that Neyma's grandfather could have with us is the reason why you have that system is because when times get tough, you're going to have people you can rely on and depend on to make sure that the group can get through it. And if it's all of this Highlander syndrome, I'm the man, Henry, whatever, John Henry went my way through it, then what happens when the price of cornmeal doubles? And you can only eat half as much cornmeal, but you got to still do the same amount of work. And you don't have a system of people, right?
Yeah, rugged individualism fails every time.
In fact, sorry for interrupting, but
hold on, Nemo, before I lose this thought, because
I got the hashtag.
Rugged individualism doesn't really. That's just a concept essentially, and to what brings to mind is like social dominance theory and what you speak of, because to OG's point, what you just said essentially, like what happens when there's calamity and you need to marshal and rebuild in some cases. But then it's another question of what happens when it's not calamity. And essentially what social dominance theory illustrates is essentially the natural dynamics that groups develop, like what you described, Namer, of why the esteem of a son becoming a doctor and the pedigree that they slowly try to cultivate. No matter where a human society starts, or what position a family in a human society starts, they all seek to edify themselves naturally, to get better, to become, to get. So that's why, and what social dominance theory illustrates is essentially healthy functional cultures or groups have a certain degree of extroverted. So it's a phenomenon within the social dominance theory called social dominance orientation. And basically Sedanius used this apparatus to measure individual groups' propensity to dominate other groups, or to essentially edify themselves, grow, get better, gain more resources, acquire more. Dominate makes it sound bad, but just taking the morality out of it is what humans try to do to survive, try to thrive, essentially.
Correct.
What social dominance orientation, that apparatus within the theory he uses, he measures individual societies or group or in groups level of extroverted dominance. So basically, like most societies, functional cultures and societies usually have a certain baseline of extroversion, meaning they try to compete outside of the group to acquire more resources. They compete with other groups. They want to become the best doctors or become the best teachers or whatever. They pick a field and try to dominate it. But there's also a phenomenology within it called a introverted social orientation, social dominance. So what I think was happening in certain cultures around the world have a certain degree of introvert, meaning their dominance is more focused inside the group itself. So you spoke to an OG when you said Highlander syndrome. So like black men have a bad habit of essentially, if they're the head nigga, they satisfied being the head nigga in charge. As long as they are in charge of all the niggas, they cool. They don't even necessarily even try to conquer white men or any other group or try to get ahead of any other group, because what I think Sedanius would say is we have a high over introverted dominance orientation where we're essentially just competing amongst each other for position within our own group, but not actually trying to compete outside of it and acquire more resources in relation to other groups, if that makes sense. So they just
makes total sense. That's why you got black congresswomen begging for DEI.
Yep.
I mean, you have some agents, they're like, well, we could use it, but we're just going to whip you in the classroom. Even look at like getting into the Harvard and them changing the Ivy League test scores. Does it really matter? If you're the best of the best, one way or another, you're going to have to prove it. So you let me into this school, I go to the school 3 notches down, but I work twice as hard as you in school. I'm still going back to my Asian group and pooling resources. So they may not be begging for DEI because they don't need it as much. We're begging for it because, or we, let me say we, black women are begging for it because they need it for survival.
And not just for survival, black women are begging for it to just outdo black men.
Correct.
Just be in a position above black men. And they essentially, and if and hopefully white men will marry them. And then that's how they'll send. Which is not even a goal in itself. Just be better than your men. What women on the planet are oriented just essentially hell bent on. They'll be cool as long as we don't have, all boys schools. As long as we don't have all boys schools, they don't need nothing but the little middle management job.
How does that help you guys in the long term? Is the question.
It doesn't.
They're not thinking. They're not thinking long term. They're not thinking past 2030.
Well, I think that's kind of like the big key point there is that we kind of find ourselves catering to the whimsical, selfish demands or the whimsical, selfish urges of other people. It's not like, and we're up against other groups that have organized plans, and that's and that's kind of where we are. Is we're stuck catering to this that makes this person or group of people feel good for one moment in time, while there's actually decades long, generational long planning that is occurring within other groups.
Yep.
Do you guys know how they celebrate Valentine's Day in Japan?
No.
Please tell.
On Valentine's Day, the first day, 3 days from now, all of the women that have some reason to say thank you to a man make chocolates for the men and give it to them on Valentine's Day.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
And then a month later, they call it White Day, 3/14. The women that gave you chocolate, you give them some chocolate back. That's how they do Valentine's Day here.
Wow.
Passport OG?
Yeah.
First of all, to what you just said, there's a song that comes to mind. Now, I'm an 80s baby, and I don't know, do you remember Billy Ocean?
Of course.
Yeah.
There's a song he had called Here's to You. If you can find that song, it's really important because I remember listening to that when I was younger. Where he's like, say, here's to you. He's saying thank you to a certain woman for being the love of his life. And like he said, it took us a while, but we walked down the aisle and here we are, hand in hand. And that's just being, that's like a commitment. And I can think of a woman who could say something like that. Here's to you. I'm grateful for Or another song like I'm so thankful. I think there's a song called I'm so grateful or so thankful, something like that. It shows gratitude.
But that's just a totally different paradigm.
but that gratitude again is something that not only do you have to perform in the workplace for, but you got to come home after work and blow her back out or help clean the dishes or take care of the kids and hope to get gratification, hope for it, and hope that it's not opening some socks on Christmas.
No, OG. No, OG. It's you know the old saying, like black, you shouldn't even hope for praise. That's what you're supposed to do.
Pretty much.
That's what a good black man does, and he doesn't need any praise or affirmation or any appreciation.
Boys to men.
It's a pleasure for you to serve. In the
but here's what makes us so dangerous, and this is why. Look, Passport Rose come out, Passport G, you get it. Like, look, we can adapt. I heard say this on the last stream. Nameless. We can adapt to basically anything, dude. We really can.
Yeah.
Like I was sitting in the workroom yesterday, and it's snowing here, right? And the guy walks up and he starts joking about we can leave early, right? And I can, the whole conversation is going on. Like the guy, the senior guy, he's laughing because I can't do that. You know my position. And the guy's like, come on, let's go home early. And I hear the whole conversation. I start laughing. I make a little joke in there, and the room erupts in laughter. Just because if you listen 3 times more than you speak and you get it, then you know how to fit in. And that's how we've done relationships. So we've concentrated all of our energy on trying to make women happy instead of concentrating that energy on being part of a group that functions.
Yeah. And it's reciprocity in the dynamics. And that's what kind of the point of the stream was. The decentering, and it was meant to be, there's some shock value to these, but I think that's where it starts. We have to get okay with centering ourselves as black men. And
say it first. Be selfish.
Yeah.
Be selfish.
Yeah. Because I say it all the time. Nobody's looking out for you, bro. Like straight up. If you ever feel guilty about it, there isn't anybody looking out for you. Black men die the earliest in America. Black men are the most stressed out motherfuckers on the planet.
And when you see a black man get killed by the police, guess everybody shows up to use that opportunity to collect resources and say they care when all they're doing is using that opportunity to
every time
elevate themselves.
Chase clout.
Yep.
Get attention. By the way, before we continue, just want to respond to something a couple of things that Pastor RG mentioned. First and foremost, regarding the rugged individualism, if you guys can find it on YouTube, there's a speech by H. Rap Brown where he addresses individualism versus collectivism. That is a very important one. In fact, my favorite quote from that, especially when he gave a few warnings to the black community about trusting certain individuals. I remember he warned about how white people can co-opt things. And the most poignant thing he said was, look, man, white people will co-opt dog shit if it's to their benefits.
Think about that. See hip hop.
Oh, right there. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Hip hop. I will curse this time. Hip hop is literal dog shit right now. It's dog shit.
Yeah, it's embarrassing almost.
It is
garbage.
Yeah. Or as Harry Spears would say, it's garbage, straight garbage. But anyway, what you said about going back to my grandfather's era, I would go further back to my great grandparents and great great grandparents' era, back when we were before colonialism, when we were going back, we lived our traditional ways. Because the society I belong to, it's patriarchal, but it's bilineal. What I mean is, I belong to my paternal line, but I also belong to my maternal line. Because I belong to both sides of my family. First and foremost, to my father's line, to my paternal line. But my maternal line is just as important to me, especially because I belong to an Enda or my clan. We have our ancestral village, and my mother's village could be from a nearby area, and I have my cousins over there. I have other relatives through a network of marriages and connections and cousins and whatnot. So in times of strife, in times of famine, If they need something, we have to help them out. They help us out. In times of peace, there's kinship. In times of war, I have to go to them. I have to grab my sword, my spear with my relatives. We have to go over there to help them whenever someone's bothering them, just as they will come over to us and help us when somebody's having issues with us. Because we have to understand we're all in it together. We're blood in, it's blood in, blood out. Treachery is not tolerated. And we help each other out because we understand it's important to work as a collective. Hell, even the elders come together as a collective. One prime example I can give you is there's this one ethnicity that the nameless protagonist mentions from Ethiopia called the Oromos. There's a symbol they have. It's called the Ona. That is a traditional tree. It is under the shade of that tree that village elders from various villages come together and sit under to discuss very important issues that affect their respective villages and the areas surrounding them. And that tree also symbolizes something from their traditional animist beliefs of Wakafena, because that is a symbol of life and unity.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Well, thank you. But you know, if you're old enough, right? I'm a Gen Xer, so I remember going to church camp. Like even at the end of Jim Crow, we had that in America. That's what's so frustrating about it. Even in the middle of a gynocracy, matriarchy, however you choose to say it.
Yeah.
My granddad, 5th grade education, learned to read from the Bible, turned into a pastor, and left acres of land to his kids, right? And this is a dude that had nothing. We had that. We had grandfathers and churches and networks. And even after it gets taken and burned down over and over and over again. But to see what happened in our lifetimes, and see it disintegrate, there's no support system. And all of these women are just doing whatever they want to do and expecting that support system. And it's just not going to be there. That's the thing that I think I tentatively, I can't say I take glee in it because I certainly don't, but I wouldn't even say I'm looking forward to it. There's just going to be some real struggle from women. We're going to see women literally struggle like in a way we've never seen before. And they're going to be looking around saying, where's our system at? And they're going to have to understand you
burned it to the ground.
You destroyed it.
You systematically took it apart brick by brick. Yeah.
Your grandmother got married at 23, had 2 or 3 kids, and helped that dude, even if she didn't like him. And you built something with him who was a community of families. You had a church, you had a community, a society, et cetera. But you say, I don't need no man. I can do everything by myself. Okay, great. What happens when that cup of cornmeal doubles in price? Who do you go for help? Because you can see right now in that American government, ain't no more handouts. Ain't no more handouts. That's over.
What black women teach us, and what I think any, like even Namer, your culture, any culture from around the world can learn, that women don't perpetuate these systems, these family structures, because like when we speak about them, like the way you just illustrated that family dynamic and the ancient ritual and everything, yo guys, just the substance of it. All of us on this panel as men felt a sense of pride about that would be something to be proud of, that would be something to be cherished. Women don't have that same thought. They only do that shit because they have to. Black women proved it. Like you just said, OG, we had those we had systems, we had structure, even in the matriarchy. But soon as they could rely basically solely on the state,
they dismantled it.
They threw that shit out like it wasn't nothing. They threw granny and all that shit, all the rituals,
they call it oppression.
Yeah, and they threw it away like it wasn't shit. They threw the black Christianity is a joke now.
Complete joke.
Like it used to be something like Dr. King came out of the black church. Like it used to be something we took very seriously. Black women used to take it very seriously. They threw that shit away soon as the state check cashed. They threw all that shit away.
Listen, compassionate. What would have happened if you spoke ill of Martin Luther King in front of your grandmother?
Oh, I would have been smacked the next Thursday.
enter what's her name? That's B. Simone. What's her name?
Exactly.
Yeah, B. Simone.
Somebody should have given her a tongue lashing the next day on camera and say,
and
"You
nobody
do not talk
even-
about that black man."
And women barely made response videos, let alone laid a hand on her. So that just tells you how far we've fallen. And I'm like BGS speaks about in industrialization of societies, empowerment of women. It will happen across the board if women don't have that same warm fuzzy feeling about those structures that we assume they do.
No,
that's my point.
Yeah,
but they do nestle in those structures when they're there.
Yes. Yeah, but given the opportunity to nestle in a structure absent of any structure or order, and that would allow them to be flexible, they'll throw that motherfucker. They'll throw 1,000-year tradition away in a blink of a fucking eye.
Yep.
You have to understand one thing. Women by nature are looking at, first of all, their own survival. So they will do whatever they think will help them in the immediate future, unfortunately. And by the way, I think the term gynocracy is more accurate, not a matriarchy, because in a matriarchy, and yet there are actual communities that were actual and still are functioning matriarchies. For example, the ancient Cushites or Nubians, they were a matriarchy. There are certain ethnicities in parts of throughout Africa where you have a matriarchal society, but the men and women have respective roles and responsibilities. As BGS would tell you, a gynocracy is basically the women have certain entitlements, but no responsibility. Like a protective class.
Why I think we use matriarchy in it, because at certain periods you could argue that, like when black folks, before the Great Migration, we all kind of lived more in the South and more rural.
Correct.
You could argue we had more of a matriarchy than a total rule by the women, like because they didn't have it wasn't structurally possible. It wasn't no welfare in 1940s Mississippi that she could rely on. So
think about sitting in church when that old lady looks at you with that look, and she'll pop you, and she'll make any kid in the church be quiet. That's matriarchy.
Yes. And at one point, Black America functioned more like a matriarchy. We probably like to think of it like it was a patriarchy, but it was bloodlines kind of flew through mama, and all the tenets of a matriarchy we fitted prior to 1960. 1960, when the states start backing them wholesale, that was the gynocracy was a coup. It was a matriarchal coup of a gynocratic regime that basically took over.
Compassion, you got another brother on the panel.
My bad, King Mulattoes. What's up?
Yo, it's me, Red Pill Sleeper Cell. What's going on, brother?
What up, bro? What up, bro?
Dirty Jersey.
Exactly. I'm running. Who the fuck? I thought this was a troll. Shit.
No. Well, people be trolling me, so this is my way of clapping back at them. They say I'm not black, so I'm the king of the mulattoes manosphere. So, yeah. Did you get my Cash App?
Damn, did I get it? My bad if I didn't shout you out.
El rey de los mulatos.
Let me check. Yep, I got you. Yep. Yeah, I shouted you out when you sent it. Yep. You sent it earlier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate you, bro. Can't thank you enough.
I bet, Louis, I can imagine what you're starting to see with the egg prices. You got any crazy egg stories? Because I know people are going crazy over them eggs up there.
Well, a dozen is like $8. Food is going up. Coffee is going up. Chocolate, everything.
Did you just say an egg is 75 cents?
I said a dozen of eggs is like $8.
Damn.
Yeah, the environment. Look,
it costs $1 to add an egg to your egg McMuffin at McDonald's.
You're
buying an egg out the store for 75.
Yes.
Well, look.
Dozen eggs for $8. Hang on a second.
I said it before. Pretty soon, these women will be compliant. You could get a chick with a can of tuna and a cup of noodle.
Yeah, starvation has its way of inspiring cooperation.
Like
see that.
BGS said, the environment will change them. So
Wait,
I
is it half a
wouldn't waste
dozen
my
or
time.
a dozen eggs?
A dozen. I
A dozen.
would not waste my time complaining about the
Mm-hmm.
dysfunction of these broads because the environment will change everybody's behavior if they like it or not.
That's
The
66
question
cents
is,
per egg.
yeah, the question is, should black men, because we know that, and we know, I guess the uninitiated of us won't recognize that for what it is. They'll think that they came to their senses by just sheer will. But the hope, I mean, I don't think, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of they're gonna be very compliant. But that's obviously, like, to your point, is contingent on the environment. It's nothing that we've done. So I hope black men don't jump out the window like I'm sure most black men will, because they're affirmation and love deprived. And if black women just behave like they start loving them suddenly because they're starving, most black men will fold for it. I know, just if I'm just being honest, most black men are not. They don't understand.
We have to remind them that's not love, that's just approval.
Can I say something right quick?
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. The other day, I was on Clubhouse, and I know people can't stand my Clubhouse recordings, but I was in a room where it was no archive, and you had a bunch of B-dubs talking about this. Discussing how the economy and the world stage is going, and they were talking basically about survival. They talking about going into chameleon mode, basically.
Yep. Yeah.
But I think the really brilliant part, I think the most important thing that this space can instill in young men is there is a purpose for sex, right? You have sex either one as some kind of like physical release from all of the work that you're doing, and if you're lucky enough, you're doing it with someone that you care about, or you're procreating with an intent, right?
Yeah.
But the idea that you're making an effort to get sex, you have to understand what you're getting it for. Because if you don't think about that, that woman can plot on you, and you can end up like Jalen Green, where you're just a damn near teenager, and you got to pay a woman who's going to be 60 when you're 40. Like, if you don't have a plan for I got this plan, this is where I'm moving, and this is the place in my life for sex. If you don't get that installed inside of you, then you'll be laid out with anyone that'll say yes. And I can't think of anything that will derail a man's future faster than that. One night with the random chick, 20 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Hey, but Passport, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Look, it's people without discipline and purpose are the ones that worry about sex, because unfortunately, in our society, sex is shoved down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are on purpose and on a mission and highly disciplined, like, if you are an athlete or into martial arts or whatever, that's the last thing that's on your mind.
Yeah.
But when you have nothing to do and you have no goals or a mission, that's your, like, in the words of Professor Black Truth, where I agree with some of the things he said, sex is an award for accomplishing something. But unfortunately, in our community, sex is the actual accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played a clip earlier of Uru said,
amen to that.
The best gift you could give to a black boy is telling him, orientate him on his purpose and mission, and not orientating him on, or he's naturally, in absence of any advice, his biology is going to pull him towards worrying about girls, like we all know. But what black boys have been essentially, because they've been deprived of masculine presence, they've been deprived of that type of advice that you spoke to, OG, of, hey, it's a purpose to sex, and even to what you said, Red, basically be on purpose. People on purpose, sex isn't it doesn't have such a gravitational pull. than the ones that aren't on purpose. So like you said, the best thing black men and black boys can do is be on mission, be on purpose, because that's what we lack. And we see, like you said, what gets filled in to what replaces it is essentially just chasing ass. You know what I'm saying? And
and considering that an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing, that's why, like me, I got a teenage son, and I keep him occupied. And like all young males, when you go to puberty, your testosterone is raging.
Yeah, we know.
And that biological program is activated. So you have to keep your young sons preoccupied and that energy focused into a productive direction.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of this gynocracy, you have these boys that single mother raised. You got no masculine presence. I remember Black Guru talking about when you have a strong father in the household, the daughter's period
it
is delayed. It's delayed.
Yeah.
And the testosterone rage that's in those young boys are subdued.
Yep.
So
well, it's gonna get subdued when you're looking at a grown ass man in your house, and you want to you want to get mad because you can't watch the channel you want to watch.
There's actually there's a documentary I've mentioned a few times. Compassion, you might have seen it by now, called The Biology of Dads, where that talks about all these things that
that sounds good.
Louis has mentioned. I've actually mentioned it. It's Biology of Dads. In fact, it was based on what he said about girls when they have their periods, when they start having their periods, depending on the presence or absence of the father. That was based on a research that was done at the University of Durham in the UK, involving some students, and then they did some other extensive, also other similar researches, which are explained in that documentary. It's a BBC documentary called The Biology of Dads. I can give you all the link in the back chat if y'all want to check it out.
Yeah, throw that link in the back chat, and we're gonna start taking some closing thoughts too. I got it.
Compassionate. Can I ask you one question?
Go ahead, yes, sir.
I love your thumbnail game. What program? No, what programs are you using? And and I apologize if I'm going off topic.
No, you good. The AI program I use is DaVinci.
Okay.
You can get a mobile version or you can get a desktop version.
How you doing your shorts? What program do you use for their shorts?
The shorts are a combination of I'm doing like I'm MacGyvering different apps together to get the shorts.
I've been listening to a stream. I blinked 2 times. You got a short. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I do a lot of screen recording. It's really just screen recording. Then, like I said, some little app trickery I just do on other apps and use what they have on it. It's hard to explain, really. I just figured it out after a while of doing it.
I just posted the link in the back chat for y'all.
Yeah, I'm probably watch that tonight. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I want to watch that. Definitely watch that.
Yeah.
Well,
it starts from all stages. It starts from infant from conception to adulthood, so it spans everything. But do take everything with a grain of salt because it's a little kind of eccentric because it's the BBC.
Well, I'm sure what keeps Louis up at night having a teenage son is that you just have this glut of girls who define themselves on how sexy they are, how many quote unquote guys they can get. And I mean, I can imagine. I mean, having a teenage son in America, a black son, like,
focused.
I mean, you would almost pray that they don't find black women attractive because there's going to be so many easy girls that are trying to get something from them.
Well, you know what I'm dealing with. One, his mother's African, okay, and
that's good.
He got most of my traits. The African American girls be hitting them, bullying them, almost. Yeah, and he's getting a lot of, and he's getting a lot of jealousy from younger black males because of his complexion. He got the same complexion as me, and he got the same hair, and he got the same hair texture. Like jealousy,
got
almost.
That good hair.
Yeah, that's what.
No. It's not good hair. It's like people are not comfortable in their own skin.
Oh yeah.
Because my son, look,
your son is. I'll be sure.
Yeah, and And my son's mother got an afro, so and I love her for, I was attracted to her for what she was, is. So
You said she's
people are
African?
towards self. Yeah, she's from Comoros. It's by Madagascar.
Oh, the Comoro Islands. Okay. Oh, the Comoro Islands. That's in the southeast off the coast in Indian Ocean. So yeah, she's a francophone.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
So
right.
how's he handling it? How's he handling?
I had to go to school a couple of times because he be knocking them the fuck out. And in the school, like, oh, he shouldn't be hitting no girl. I said, no, I disagree. Nobody should be putting their hands on nobody. I
Thank
told
you.
him I teach my son, do not initiate a fight. Do not do that. You don't put your hands on somebody. But if you're getting attacked, you ought to defend yourself.
Period. Yeah.
Hey, he's the son of a leatherneck, so he should at all times protect himself.
Yeah. Facts. No, he's not wrong at all. They'll be all right. They'll learn.
Yeah, they gotta learn. They gotta learn, like Bernie would say. But you know what?
Take it easy, Miss Beverly.
Yeah. But when you think about it, we think about what Louis going through and everything. The best example of that would probably be if y'all remember the character Pops from the House Party, played by the late Robin Harris. What was the thing he kept telling kids from Kid and Play all the time? Keep your mind in the books and off them gals. Yeah, you gotta have to whoop that. And then afterwards, Uncle Vester, played by Bernie Mac, what did he tell him? Be yourself. Or just be yourself. People don't like when you be yourself, fuck them.
Well, there's a time when you had the black church, the older women in the church would say, stop being old fast and put some, go take a cold shower. We don't even have that anymore.
That's it.
It's just sick. Yeah. I mean, every time I look at Sexy Red, I know it's an agenda. She's got to be a plant, dude.
100%. Yeah, no.
Like, you're gonna make a song that's big, fat, and juicy. Like, come on, man. You there's no other great group of people making music like that.
Yeah,
I remember. You got to go back a decade because I remember and I had to look at my brother sideways for this because he was bumping a song like Nicki Minaj and Drake called "Ass, Ass, Ass," and I'm like, what the hell is all this nonsense? And this was back in the mid 2000s here, folks.
But the difference is, if you talk about booty shake music in the 90s, that was fringe music. That was not music that was being centered on the doggone on the Grammy Awards. Yeah, I mean, the Two Live Crew wasn't going to be on no Grammys. Crazy.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to ask me that question from Crazy?
They saying WAP on the Grammy? I don't know what the awards are. They
ain't gonna do that.
That was 2 years ago.
Working at Kamala's rally. Yeah, they got them introducing them to politicians. Glorilla meeting congressional house leaders. Like weird, goofy shit.
Yeah.
What is that gonna do? What is that gonna accomplish?
It's an agenda. I mean, I think Dr. Neil is right, and they setting black women up to be the fall girls for the Western or Western hegemony or the Western Empire's fall. They set and it don't make sense otherwise.
Look, just like when we came up, they primarily gave movie stars and athletes access to power, meeting with politicians and stuff. They're the new buffer class where these young impressionable kids, that's the image that they're, is shoved down their throat to aspire to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, essentially, black women have been positioned as a sort of a buffer class to black men, between black men and the greater society. And I guess I think they've outlived their usefulness. And now they're just going to be, I think they're setting them up socially and culturally that it looks like all the depravity of the country is going to appear to be solely because of black women.
Yep.
And they can't see that shit coming. Because it's not even a lot of the shit that they being propped up and and put in front of the whole world about is like Sexy Red concerts, ticket sales are very low. She can't even fill up. She can't. So the record industry isn't actually making that much money from her to be putting so much energy in marketing. So it got to be some other reason why you would even do that. If we know that they've always chased the dollar, if they're pushing bitches that don't even sell tickets or barely sell songs, that music sucks, but they're parading them around and putting them all over the media. It's a reason they're doing that. And I think it might be to just to create the frame the how people perceive Black women, and it's starting to get worse and worse.
You know what, Compassionates? I gotta get you a link. I gotta put a link in the back chat. It's something that Patrice O'Neal said. It's called I endorse hate speech, where he connects a lot of things. This goes back to 2011. Was connect what he's explaining what was the deal going on in the record industry, in the entertainment industry, starting with what happened to Tracy Morgan that particular year when he found himself in hot water for a certain joke. It's about control and everything. So that's something that I'm gonna send you the link to y'all. I'm gonna put down the link for the back chat for y'all.
But y'all can start doing. You can start doing closing statements because I gotta get something to eat, man. I'm starved.
Age before beauty.
Be good to others, but first and foremost, be good to yourself. I'm out.
Yeah.
Facts. Salute. Appreciate you pulling up.
I appreciate you, Compassionate Callous. I gotta call you something. C and C or something. C squared. I gotta call you C squared.
Just call me CC. Yeah.
But I think that being called a lame is a badge of honor, and the sooner that a new generation of Black men understand that, like when someone calls you a lame, they're basically saying that you're dysfunctional in our dysfunctional culture, and that's a good thing because you're not spitting out baby mamas, like you're studying, like you're not going to the club every weekend, you're not listening to degenerate music, and the truth of the matter is, if you're not quote unquote lame, I don't know how you're gonna survive the next 10 years. I really don't.
Facts.
I mean, because I'm a quote unquote what do you call it? What is it? Not a big towel. Talk on it. A monk, right? But I'm a monk. I'm a monk because of the amount of effort that it's going to take to maintain a relationship while I'm doing this. I mean, I'm learning Mandarin. Like it's hard. Like I have days where work, come home, boom, 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 and then maybe I got an hour and a half to study. I do not have time to entertain a woman, even if she's compliant, unless she fits in like a puzzle piece.
Exactly.
And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think young kids have to understand. There is a place for a woman in your life, but she is not in the center of your life.
Absolutely.
And if she's in the center of your life, you ain't going nowhere but to the doggone child support office to pay child support checks.
Absolutely.
Anyways, with that, I'm gonna get off here. You get something to eat, and I'll probably catch you on the BGS panel.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro.
Good talking to you, dog.
Yep.
I guess I'll follow up on that then. So I recall hearing a professional football player, don't know which one it was, that when he was on the live, he said something that really hit home for me. He said that the professional athlete and the professional nerd are essentially the same man. It's the same determination. It's the same focus. You just have to have a mission, a purpose, and a passion. I'll leave y'all with that.
Facts.
Good night, y'all.
Yes, sir. Be safe.
Thanks for having me up.
Anytime. Go
Last
ahead.
but definitely not least.
Absolutely not.
I'm just first and foremost, I say every man needs to look at himself and find himself because first of all, like Patrice O'Neal said, you must center yourself. It all starts with you. Hell, as Patrice once told his woman, she was the fourth most important thing in his life because for him, it was me, my livelihood, my immediate family, and then maybe her.
Yep.
But in his case, he also let her know, I got my tank of fish, so I can put them in front of you if you get out of line.
Facts.
Yeah, he had his fish. He loved it. So men need to understand, put yourself first. Otherwise, women will not. So you have to focus on you, yourself. And it's like that old De La Soul joint, me, myself, and I. Just like Beyonce was singing, me, myself, and I.
Yep.
This is not about selfishness or softness. This is about understanding you have to depend on yourself first and foremost, as well as others. But you got to make sure you have to help yourself before you can help others. So make sure you're good. And with that, I just say, as I always say, y'all ain't shit. Never been shit. There will be shit. And God bless y'all for it. Be better. One love.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you coming up, bro. Appreciate you. Yep. Thanks, guys, for the 20 watching. Appreciate y'all, man, pulling up, listening to the ramble. I kind of just thought this was an impromptu. I would literally just made it real quick. Appreciate y'all, but again, appreciate y'all pulling up. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to hear y'all thoughts. And again, theatricality and deception are powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are the initiated.
Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated. Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are